Back in 2008, I was one of the few kids with a BlackBerry, one of the early smartphones. It was awesome. I could Google things right there in class, get places with GPS, and access my bank directly from their mobile banking app. I actually banked with one of the first banks to ever have a mobile app, which was pretty cool. Just like all the rest of that stuff. Honestly, this was all wild back in 2008. Now, smartphones are computers in our pockets with 3.5 million apps at our fingertips, and we can use them to pay for stuff and maybe even one day replace our wallets. One thing I did not see coming back in 2008 when I got that BlackBerry was how much these devices would be able to learn about me. I'm sure companies knew at that point in time that they were going to profit from this information, but I honestly don't think they ever dreamed they would profit as much as they have now. Basically, every company, is some kind of data broker, or at least selling off their users' data, for pennies on the dollar, and utilizing it to their financial benefit. Now, in 2008, I would not have thought really that much about a company knowing I frequently used my GPS app to get to different bookstores around the city. But now, how things are, I'm very aware that companies are tracking everything that I do. Google Chrome, one of the biggest browsers in the world. I can't even remember what their market share is, and that includes Google Chrome itself, and then all the other browsers that are forked off of Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome, but still upkept by Google. They also released their incognito mode, which is like their private browsing, quote unquote private browsing, back in December of 2008. And one second, look, we have a Tessie sighting. I just wanted to go ahead and point that out because she doesn't always make appearances in the video. But back to our regular scheduled program. Now, many browsers have incorporated this private browsing feature, and a certain percentage of the population thinks no one can see what they're doing. Honestly, when it comes to browsers and anything on the internet, um, you know, I always assumed that they were looking at what I do or had access to what I do or monitoring what I do. And Google recently, found itself at the center of a $5 billion lawsuit over tracking users even incognito mode. And this isn't talking about other third parties tracking them. This is about Google themselves offering you a private browsing experience and then tracking you even in that private browsing experience. That's what they were being accused of. And this lawsuit was filed back in 2020. Now, today we're going to be talking about another article from It's Foss News, and they reported on January 18th Google had updated its incognito disclosure to inform users it's not fully private. This made me question, how private are our browsers? Well, today we're going to discuss browser privacy on this episode of Linux Sundays. Before I get into that, though, I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for a notification. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink my face down here. So you can go ahead and just check out the article here. All right, and let me just scroll back up here to the top. All right, so the article that we're going to be discussing today. But before I get into that though, just a little update on the Google lawsuit. So on December 30th, 2023, the Associated Press reported that Google settled the lawsuit. Currently, the terms aren't available, but at some point in time, we will know that because I'm sure they'll have to pay out some kind of payment to users, I guess. But even looking at $5 billion, and there's probably over a billion people using Chrome, I'm like, that's like right for that's like $5 a person, but that assumes that every single 1 billion of the 1 billion people also sign on to the lawsuit. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I'm curious how this will this kind of lawsuit, because this isn't from the United States government or any kind of regulatory body. So I'm curious how this will influence any future antitrust litigation, or probes and all that stuff. So we shall see. But yeah, let's continue with this article because we can see here the title says, from It's Foss News, Google discloses that incognito mode in Chrome isn't entirely private. And again, I always assumed that it wasn't private. Now, it actually it's a pretty short article, as most of their articles are, but it kind of shows you the difference here. Now, let's look at the difference between the two here. So we're going to start with the older one, which is this one right here. Now, it says you can browse privately, and other people who use this device won't see your activity. However, downloads, bookmarks, and reading list items will be saved. Learn more. Chrome won't save the following information: your browsing history, cookies and site data, information entered into forms. Your activity might still be visible to websites you visit, your employer or school, or your internet service provider. And then it gives you an option down there to block third-party cookies. When on sites can use cookies to track you across the web. Features on some sites may break. So, do you see anywhere in there where it says like, "Hey, Google is going to track you or is not going to track you"? No, but it is implied because they only call out these three institutions right here: websites, your employer, school, your internet service provider. I know this is really kind of like meant to be like, hey, these are just some of them, but when you're the one who's selling the browser, you should explicitly state what your intentions are going to be. That's just the way it should be. And if we look up here, if we now go up to the new one, it says other who use this device won't see your activity, so you can browse more privately. This won't change how data is collected by websites that you visit and services that they use, including Google. See, there we go. And if that's not a, hey, please don't sue the pants off of us, or try to bring antitrust litigation against us, I don't know what is. Now, downloads, bookmarks, and reading list items will still be saved. And then we can see here, Chrome won't save your browsing history, cookies and site data, information entered in forms. This activity might still be visible to websites that you visit, your employer or school, your internet service provider. And honestly, really, like, the only thing that this service is really doing is it's clearing your browsing history when you close it. Same thing with your cookies and site data, and any information you did on forms. And I don't know why. Like, I think honestly with these things, it's just something that should be like not saved by default. Personally, that's just my own personal opinion because I just don't understand why that's on. But hey, it is, and it's always been that way. I remember that being the case when I was a kid, so it is what it is. But yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, so when you look at the previous one, we can see why many people would have thought that what they were doing was private, and this is a tech YouTube channel, so with a primarily tech audience. So most of us understand this is not really a private connection, but most people don't fall into that category. Don't trust me. I wish they were. Everything will be the same, but now more clear that Google will still be tracking you. One thing that I hope viewers will take away from this video: if you provide credentials to any website or browser, just assume they are tracking you. Now, I am primarily a Firefox user, and Firefox has a better reputation than Google when it comes to the respecting of privacy. I'm not going to say that they never have violated my privacy or never will, but I assume because I sign in, my data is able to be accessed and utilized by Mozilla, which is Firefox's parent company. Now, privacy in the tech space can be a really controversial topic. Personally, I just try to balance privacy with convenience. The general rule I have for privacy is the more convenient it is, the less private it is. Now, I assume that I also make the assumption that I will never be 100% private when I am online. And because of that, I am going to act accordingly. Now, one thing you might think is a 100% way to secure your online privacy is to maybe code your own browser. You can do like bees Google, but Google, or Boogle. We're just gonna call my fictional browser Boogle. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna code this browser myself so that nobody's gonna know it's me. It's gonna be super secure. I'm gonna block everything that I possibly can. But you can do that, but realistically what's going to happen is you're going to be one person using this browser. Now, they will still be able to know it's you because the browser you use no matter how many things you try to block, there is going to be something on there that will be linked to yourself. It's not going to have your name unless unless I call it Google, they and say by Tatog Tech or something like that. They yeah, make it pretty obvious. But what this is it's called browser fingerprinting, and essentially what they're doing is they're taking a fingerprint of your browser and your browser activity settings and stuff like that, and other things that are used unique to your computer. Well, I shouldn't say unique to your computer, but are unique to your profile. Including your data, computer, browser, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, and link that back to you. That's what browser fingerprinting is. And I wanted to cover browser fingerprinting in this video, but I found I found way too much information on the topic, and so I'm just going to go ahead and cover browser fingerprinting in a separate video. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. Now, I'm not going to say that privacy is not a goal you should have. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is be realistic about it and understand companies have a financial interest in your data. Also, if you're not a tech person, take the time, for the love of God, to evaluate a browser and search engine before you search something crazy like how to get rid of a body. And please do not do that. That's just like an express lane to conviction and probably a lifetime in prison if you're here in the United States. And again, privacy can be a really contentious topic in the tech space. So regardless of where you fall on the privacy spectrum, does not make you wrong. All I wish is for all people to be educated on the topic and allow individuals to make the determination on their own privacy. Now, what we learned from this article was don't blindly trust a company and make sure you understand how a service works to protect your privacy online. To me, education is the number one thing you can do for a population to make sure that they're successful. Now, that's what I am actually all about. I hope that you learned something from any of my videos, regardless of how small it is. I'm hoping I taught you something you didn't know before you watched that video. If you're interested in more information about browser privacy, I plan on doing that video I mentioned on browser fingerprinting. So make sure you are subscribed for that video and look out for it here in the near future. Now, check out the other episodes of Linux Sunday if you haven't already. Now, if you're caught up, check out this other video instead. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my video and have the greatest of days.